saint. Janet Fjeldstad's greatest passion is to help women and men change their culture and the way that they relate to each other in their personal and business lives. A former corporate executive, a performance and competition dancer, and single mother of 2 adult daughters, she is a 5th-generation San Francisco Bay Area native and has experienced the beauty of nearly every corner of California. Her approach is influenced by the fundamentals of tango dance, partnership, balance, and passion. Janet applies the fundamentals of tango to the basics of life in a way that inspires life's improvisation with grace, leading the dance of life with passion and balance. Tango is an expression, masculinity and femininity, leading and following. Please help me welcome Janet Fjeldstad.
Thank you, Mindy. Thank you, Eileen, Avi, and fellow successful thinkers. Can I have your partnership today? I notice that when I'm speaking, I often get really quiet. So if you notice that occurs, if somebody could just do this, I'll know that I need to raise my voice, okay? Can I have that? Okay. Perfect. Already, come on now. Come on. So, you notice that I'm passionate about people and relationships. So one of the things I've just learned I wanted to share with you, and it's about anatomy of a complaint. But before we get started, there was something I noticed as I was coming in today, and I was hoping to take a quick poll. How many of you like BMWs? Okay, we're gonna drive away BMWs today. Bitches, moans, and whines. BMWs. So, this concludes the comedic portion of our show today.
Okay.
So, thanks so much. Aren't you relieved? Anyway, so, how many of us experienced complaining in our lives? Either the complainee or the complainor?
Of course.
Oh, and the rest of you are liars. So notice that we tend to have a visceral response to complaining. This is actually going to be a little interactive talk, so you'll notice that I'll be asking you questions. So when I ask, I would hope that somebody will volunteer, otherwise I might volunteer you. So, I notice that when people I care about complain, one of the things I notice most is that I often just try to solve the problem to make the complaining stop. Anybody else? Yeah. What other reactions might you have?
Complain back.
What?
Complain back.
Ah, yes, affinity. Sometimes, ooh, me too. Me too. And what about, yes?
Defensive.
Defensive, yes, that's a big one, especially if we think it's about us or something that we've done.
Remember an appointment that I had forgotten.
Exactly. Avoid. Yes, redirect. Yes.
Bring in something positive of the negative that she's
Yes. And does that work?
No.
Not always.
Listen and identify where the fear and the complaint comes from.
Good one.
Generally, I feel like we're a failure, and try not to take it personal, but I feel like, man, we should have done better.
Right. Now, especially those of us in business, sometimes that complaint, even if it has nothing to do with us, we feel like, well, I'm failed already and I haven't even really gotten started. So that's not so great. So those are kind of some really common reactions that we have just, with the people that are close to us and our business associates and colleagues. Now, what if you're standing in line at Costco and the woman in front of you is complaining that they don't sell miniature marshmallows anymore?
Roll my eye.
Yeah, we often judge that. We often judge that.
I just say, bless your heart.
Right. We try to, like you said, deflect it maybe. Or sometimes we just notice, wow, complaining, really? Marshmallows? So what if there's a good reason for that? Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
You sit on the Safeway and say, hey, I know it's a sale on Safeway. You should get some great marshmallows.
Exactly. We try to solve it, redirect it.
Yeah.
Essentially, we just try to make it stop. Stop, please. So what if we actually need to ask them to complain a little more? This is what I've been researching, and I've been practicing this, and I'm telling you, I love it. Love it, love it. And I'm going to tell you why. So, now we're getting to the anatomy part. We consider that human beings pretty much, we're just operating from instinct most of the time. And we forget sometimes that we have a choice. And when we're operating from instinct, we're just trying to survive. And we have some need that we're trying to get done. We're just like doing our day, run, do our day. And then if we stop, we sometimes have a choice. And then we notice, oh, these are the things I value. And these are the things that make my life better. So here we are with these two things, needs and values. That's actually the first part, the anatomy of the complaint. You have a need or a value that somehow is being assaulted. You have a need that's not being met, or a value that's being assaulted. Now, when you're standing in line at Costco, you're kind of wondering what that might be. So what do? I've found that if you ask, so why are you so upset about that? Can you tell me more about that? And let her complain, and guess what? You're going to find out what she values. Turns out, she's on her way to the children's hospital, and she always brings hot chocolate with the marshmallows, and the kids love the marshmallows, and she really is really upset that she's going to have to go to the hospital without marshmallows. So aren't you glad you asked her to complain a little more? Because guess what? You found out what her value was. And she's powerless to change the marshmallow, drought at Costco. She can't manifest marshmallows. And she's draining energy. But guess what? You get to restore her. You get to say, I give you so much credit. That is so awesome that you do that. I really appreciate that you have such a strong value and participation in the community, and it stops the leak of energy. It stops it. Imagine how those clients that call and complain, we can just ask them to complain more to find out what it is that they're really valuing. Usually that's not what they're saying. So this is what I've been practicing, and I've been loving complaining all of a sudden. So what are the things that you complain about most? Does somebody have something that they're willing to be vulnerable and share what they complain about? Or some of you must have teenagers. Yes.
My kids fighting with each other.
Ah, yes. Yes. And what is it that are you able to identify? Do you just value peace? What is it you value that makes it, do you think?
I value them having a higher opinion of each other and being willing to work together rather than just bickering and constantly irritating each other on purpose. Yeah, the teenagers and the kids are the hardest ones because it's hard to figure out. They don't know what they value or what they need. So sometimes we have to talk about that. But ask them to complain more, see what happens.
They hit one another harder.
What do you think? So I noticed that for myself. The actual marshmallow experience is a real one. And, yep.
And I have a daughter who complains constantly about not going out to breakfast. How come we can't go out to breakfast? Can't go out to breakfast. What she really values is hanging out with me. Oopsie. And if I'm home cooking, then I'm busy. But if we're out to breakfast, I noticed that. So I gave her a lot of credit for making sure that we got to do what we wanted to do, what she needed, which was more time and attention. So that was really a big yowza for me. Yeah.
What is interesting, and I don't know if you have looked into this, different cultures complain differently and about different things. And actually, American culture is relatively low level complaining compared to some countries where everybody bitches all day long.
So they, oh yeah, yes.
They do it differently. I mean, like the black joke kind of, I don't know what you call them, always kind of the negative aspect of if you fall on your face, everybody laughs because that's how they react to it. So.
Right. Yeah. And another thing I noticed that when we have something that somebody's complaining about something that we are actually fixing, but it's invisible. So in other words, we're taking, I belong to another organization and they were complaining about something that wasn't done yet, but it takes like 10 days. So I would get a call every day. So finally, it was like they were evaluating efficiency and communication and the thing being done because they were going on vacation. Didn't know that. So, and I was just valuing being a trusted, person to get this done. And so, me just acknowledging her for really being, on top of trying to get this done, kind of stopped the complaining and gave me the space to actually just tell her what was my deal. Often we just tolerate it, and I noticed that I've been walking around tolerating, and I just invite you to ask people to complain more. You're going to find out so much information. It's been really helpful. What about you, Scott?
I have a question. What kind of questions can you ask to
Inspire?
Just a couple examples.
Evoke? Okay. So the marshmallow woman, I just said, you must love marshmallows. Tell me more about that. And she said, and went on and on about how they didn't have them still. She was still freaked out about not having them. So I just kept saying, and more, and tell me more about that, and I just said, so what do you use them for? Are you a cook? And she said, oh, no. And then she told me. So sometimes they, kind of just have to get past being freaked out about whatever the thing that they're complaining about. Another one, apparently I spend a lot of time at the grocery store, but another one was, and actually the ones that aren't about us are the easiest to inquire about because you're not afraid of the answer. I noticed that for myself, I was in a grocery store line and the guy was sort of just complaining to the universe, not to me, but how long does this take? I can't believe it. It's just, should just be able to, don't they have barcodes now? Blah, 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 blah. On and on. And at first I did that, it's not about me, so I just noticed it. Ooh, complaining. What do you know? And then it continued, and it literally almost no breaths in between. So I said, yeah, she's, she looks like she's working as fast as she can, and he's like, yeah, but it takes so much time. I can't believe how much time it takes. And I started listening to the words, and I said, oh, so you really, take good care of your time. You really, time is important to you. And he said, well, actually, yeah, I'm really freaked out. I have to go pick up my daughter from soccer. It's her first day. And same thing, there's just like some kind story behind it. Yeah, he was worried about not picking up his daughter from soccer, and this little case of Snapple was for the team. So he wasn't really worried about the time. He was worried about his kids. And so it's a lot easier to be compassionate, and then you're no longer tolerating, you're actually empathetic or compassionate about the complaining. So complaining is actually really just super great information that you just haven't distinguished yet what the deal is. So that's what I've been practicing. Jake?
I wanted to share something that we learned very closely in my last job, specifically when you're getting a complaint that's about the level of service that you're providing. Or, I mean, it's one thing to say to someone who is, not complaining about something you've done, or whether it's actually personally about you. The thing that I found to be most helpful is the first thing to always say, regardless of what the complaint is thank you. You say thank you for telling this to me. Please do, tell me more, because these are more important than anything I could have done right. I'd like to know, and I appreciate it, and I take place personal value in learning where I could be a better resource for you.
That's really great. Yes, I'm going to practice that too, because I can see how almost everybody values their own, themselves.
It's very disarming when someone's coming at you angrily and you say, thank you. It stops them.
Say what?
And it puts you in a much better position to actually do some good and some positive and to make good with it, rather than just letting that anger continue on and fester.
Right, that's great. Yeah, I noticed that
It puts him in their position, and it puts the complainer in a better position with the guard staff. It's like, okay, now I can talk with you. You are validated.
Yeah, that's really great. That's really great.
To go along with that, once you ask somebody, what the problem is, and you thank them for it, everyone here knows about how to solve problems as far as your business. That's what we do. We're all business people that know how to do things like that. We're all in
big
customer.
boys and girls.
We're all big. But nobody knows how good we are unless we get the chance. So if they've got a complaint, thank them for the complaint, and now you know how to fix it. Because if you never know how, they never see how shining light you can actually be.
Thank you. Yes, that's true. And actually, remember when I said we don't really like to ask a lot of questions when the complaint is about us? It's actually great because we have remember we talked about the anatomy being there's a value, there's something that we're powerless to change, and that we're leaking energy because of it. Well, guess what? If the complaint is about us, we have the opportunity to change it. So that's great.
I just want to add also something in regards to what Jake said, is as business owners, we should welcome complaints. And what I've learned over the years is that the worst customers are those who do not complain.
Correct.
Because they don't show up again, and you never know, and you will probably never know why did they stop showing up, stop buying from you, or cancel the service, whatever you provide to them.
Exactly.
So when a customer complains, I know they care, they want to keep getting the service, they're just not happy with something, which gives us as business owners an opportunity to improve upon what we do and make sure that their experience is much better.
Exactly, and that's the perfect anatomy example. There was a value, the customer had a value that was not met, and they are powerless to change it, so they complained to you, and you are powerful to change it. and therefore stop the leak of energy. So that's a perfect